in many respects, this race is obviously very important indeed, but it's not about winning, it's just about putting yourself in a decent grid slot and not making any mistakes. A lot of loading going on at the first hairpin. There have been several drivers that have gone off out on the banking. The 72 of Sandro Ballesteros and the number 44, that similar liveried cart of Darren Dawson, have been delayed. The number 64 of Oliver Greenall for Evolution Racing has gone for a spin. He was starting on the 8th row of the grid. Other drivers have been delayed as well. But up at the front, it is Thompson, Mason and Behrman. Nose to tail, they complete the opening lap. Yellow flag still waving on the banking, where finally somebody has got themselves running again, and they've taken nearly a full lap. Not sure who that is. I think that might be Archie Carter. Or is that a Mark Baines livery cart? Let's have a little look as he comes round the first hairpin. That is the number 16 cart of Carter, who was slow away. He's off and running, finally. And 29 drivers are still in the race. A lot of them have been delayed. Looking back, there's half a dozen that are running after, right at the back of the pack after incidents. The 37 Virtus Motorsport cart of... it's not the 37, it's a scuffed number 32. And that's Franklin Taylor. As well as Jack Clements. So his teammate, Taylor's teammate Clements, also down the back. Oliver Fathers has had an issue as well. And the number 16 cart of Archie Carter, nearly a full lap down. As the leaders come through the Bruno Ferrari S's. 2, 4, 5 carts in a line, pushing each other along, trying to work together. As the cadet drivers do better than anybody else in karting. It's sensational to watch. And again, this class for 8 to 13-year-olds. You can race into your 13th year in cadet. And the speeds, nearly 50-odd miles an hour, inches apart. Thompson, Behrman, Mason, Heading and Marsh, your top 5. Oliver Marsh, that red and green Project 1 team kart. Just hanging on to the number 57 of Sam Heading. And of course, in karting, the number 57, a very sought after number. That was the number that used by the late Martin Hines, Mr. Karting. And his son Luke, who still runs the Zip All-Stars team. But blue flags now for Archie Carter. The leaders approaching the number 16 cart. And what you'll see is Thompson obviously wants to stay in the lead. He doesn't want to get shuffled back too much, but with 8 minutes to go, if Oliver Behrman decides to make a move, Thompson won't dispute it too viciously at this stage, because he knows that in a couple of laps it'll be his turn to head back towards the front. Heading moves into 3rd. Mason slips to 4th. Marsh shakes his head as he laps Archie Carter. He is still there in that lead bunch in 5th. Behind the top 5, Koskan Irfan runs in 6th position ahead of Archie Brown, Ben Kasperzak, Lucas Ellingham, and the top 10 rounded out by Kaysen Gibson. Behind Gibson, Theo Mikuris, Aston Miller, Arvid Lindblad, Frankie Elwell and Joshua McLean complete the top 15. Now, as I said earlier, there are 7 drivers who are doing both cadet classes. Thompson, Kasperzak, Mason, Irfan, Watts, Lindblad and McLean. And Harry Thompson currently leads. So Thompson, Mason, Kasperzak and the other double duty drivers, they're all dreaming of emulating Ben Barnicoat's achievement last year when he became the first and only driver in the 20-year history of this event to win 2 GP plate titles in the same day. Many over the years have tried. They have all failed apart from Barnicoat. As Oliver Behrman now moves into top spot. So Behrman made the move at the first hairpin. Thompson slots back into line behind him, and that's what Harry Thompson wanted to do. He doesn't mind losing the lead, but he does not want to then get freight trained back to 6th or 7th place. But he was able to slot back into 2nd, and that lead group of 5 karts is growing because Irfan in the 12, the global karting machine, and the number 92 privateer driver Archie Brown are working together to close in. Irfan's global karting teammate Lucas Ellingham is also heading towards the front, and Ellingham has been very quick all weekend. He's got about 10-12 kart lengths to make up to catch the lead pack. Behind Ellingham, the number 68, all black liveried kart of Cason Gibson. Gibson being helped along by Theo Mikuris for Virtus Motorsport, and the BRK factory driver Ben Kasperzak. Behind Kasperzak, the battle for 12th place is between the number 70 of Aston Miller and the number 95, Sweden's Arvid Lindblad. And then behind Lindblad in 14th place is Josh McLean. Frankie Elwell rounds out the top 15 ahead of Liam McNeely, Luke Watts, Liam Harrell, Joshua Patterson and Alex Lay. That is your top 20. Tom Leben, Kyle Casabante, Franklin Taylor, Oliver Greenall and Darren Dawson, the remainder of the top 25. Jack Clements, Sandro Ballesteros, Oliver Fathers and Archie Carter round out the field. All 29 drivers that started this race are still running with 5 minutes to go. The leaders go over the Litchfield Bridge through turn number 4. Thompson is back in front. Mason has moved into 2nd. Behrman, side by side now with Mason, retakes 2nd place after briefly dipping to 3rd. And behind them, Koskan Irfan has not only caught the lead group, he's driven past Sam Heading and Oliver Marsh. And the number 92 of Archie Brown does the same. So Heading slips to 6th, Marsh down to 7th. And not far behind them, Ellingham, Gibson and Mikuris working together to close in and create a 10-kart battle for the lead. And with the long straights and a couple of winding corners and a combination of the slow hairpins and especially the first couple of corners out on the banking, PFI is the perfect place for cadet drafting and slipstreaming. It will be a big surprise if we have a runaway winner in any of the cadet classes. Well, in any of the classes really. They've all been very close, but specifically in cadet, because the disturbance that the lead kart causes to the airflow just helps everyone behind just get a little bit extra power. Thompson having a nibble at Oliver Behrman, and Oliver Behrman checking over his shoulder, looking down to see where Thompson's positioning his kart. And I've got to say, Oliver, you might have done better to look at the corner because you made a mess of the apex and lost the lead anyway. So you will see drivers looking over their shoulder all the time. It's very important that drivers have to potentially stop moves from happening in a class like Cadet Honda where momentum is so important. Some team bosses will be shaking their heads and saying, I'm going to wring his neck when he comes in. I've told him not to look over his shoulder. But it's a fact of karting as Thompson, Mason and Behrman, 1, 2 and 3, nose to tail, 12 wheels working together. Behrman to the inside of Mason, and Oliver Behrman has been determined not to allow Harry Thompson and Wesley Mason to work together. Now last year, Thompson and Mason were teammates in Steve Cutting's Cutting Edge Racing stable. Mason is running as a privateer this year, but Thompson and Mason work extremely well together. They've got a very good understanding of how to race and help one another. And in many races, we've seen Thompson and Mason try to push away and succeed. Oliver Behrman knows if they're not together, they can't work together. So every single time, Mason and Thompson have run 1-2. Behrman, all guns blazing, sending moves in left, right and centre just to break up that momentum. I have to say, the tactic seems to be working because Behrman has been able to hang with the two leaders as everyone else has fallen away. Well, battle is kicked off for 4th place, and Koskan Irfan is now in 4th, but they are 2 seconds behind the top 3. Kason Gibson, the all-black liveried kart for Next Gen Motorsport, moves into P4. He's had a storming couple of laps, but Gibson was 10th a couple of laps ago. He's now 4th, but he's much further behind the leaders than he was when he was 10th, because if you start running side by side in Cadet Honda, that is when you slow each other down. We've got 1 minute to go. Mason, Thompson lead, nose to tail. Behrman, 5 kart lengths behind them, has got to work hard to get back on terms with them. Then Gibson leads a dozen drivers fighting for 4th place. It's Gibson from Heading, Ellingham's in there, so's Irfan, Archie Brown, Theo McCouris, Oliver Marsh, Aston Miller, Ben Kasperzak, all the way back to Arvid Lindblad in the number 95, who's at the tail end of that group. Oh, and 2 of them have gone wide at the Mike Wilson complex, and they've lost a few places there. 20 seconds left to go. Gibson runs 4th. Heading and Ellingham side by side into turn number 1, and Ellingham's global karting teammate Koskan Irfan goes around the outside of the pair of them. I think Ellingham gets the place back. Down the hill. Mason and Thompson have not yet started battling through the first hairpin. There's all sorts of defending going on behind them for 4th place. Mason and Thompson know the minute that Harry Thompson tries to pass Wesley Mason, and the minute that Mason drives a defensive line, Oliver Behrman will be there, battling for the win. So they're going to delay the inevitable battle for honours for as long as possible. But the clock has struck 0. Wesley Mason in that yellow and black number 8 leads Harry Thompson onto the start-finish line. Last lap board. Behrman in 3rd is 7/10 down. Harry Thompson looks over his shoulder. Out onto the banking. The battle for 4th is still led by Kason Gibson. There's about 7 karts now left in that battle. Over the banking, there's drivers up and on each other's rear bumper going on the banking, but they all somehow manage to continue. Up at the front, Harry Thompson still has not made his move, and that is stopping Oliver Behrman from catching him. Into the first hairpin comes this huge scrap for 4th place. It's now led by Arvid Lindblad, who was 13th about a lap ago. He's now 4th. He's only 8 years old. Kason Gibson is behind him in 5th. Then it's Ellingham, Irfan, Kasperzak, Brown. I haven't been able to follow exactly what's been going on because the leaders are in to the Mike Wilson complex. Harry Thompson is going to leave it until he comes onto the start-finish straight. Now he's going to try and pull out and beat Mason to the line in a drag race, but Mason, bouncing up and down in his seat, hangs on by 0.04 of a second. And Harry Thompson, who started this weekend with 3 wins in his 4 heats. He'll be starting on the front row of the grid for the Grand Prix, but it won't be from pole position because that honour goes to the current E-Plate and English champion Wesley Mason. Oliver Behrman finishes in 3rd place, and then after a tremendous last couple of laps, Arvid Lindblad, the number 95 Zip Team entry, finishes 4th, with Kason Gibson, the top Next Gen Motorsport driver, in 5th. The 2 global karting teammates, global karting, the team run by former Kart Masters champion Chris Rogers, Lucas Allingham and